Hello, welcome to One Moment Wiser. This is Christy Bridges, and I have someone you've met before because Sarah and I have known each other and had such great conversations for several years now. But Sarah Soon, my friend, has just launched two two Christmas stories. Her very first novels are both going out at the same time, which is kind of cool. And um, in the last few years, Sarah's had so many changes in her life. Writing fiction is hard enough, but she's also had just all kinds of life shifts. And so we're going to talk to her today about mental health and how she's made that work. So Sarah, thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Christy, for inviting me.
Mhm. I just have to say, ever since I met you, you spoke at a weekend retreat where I went, and you spoke about your experiences. And some of them were really challenging in ministry and just in your personal life.
Yeah,
And at that time, I was impressed by your mental health and by your ability to be your own person, doing the things that helped you be healthy and feel good and do what you were called to do. And so even back then, I was impressed with that. And so I don't know. I'm really glad that you're here to talk about what works for you. And I'm
yeah,
really curious to see how all that changed over the last few years, if anything changed. Um,
right.
sorry, I you can tell I'm excited when I just go on and on and on, right? Oh my goodness. Okay, so first of all, you kind of impressed me because you have made a life for yourself as an entrepreneur. You edit for people, you do website work, and you've managed to keep yourself going while you've been learning all this fiction stuff. So how do you deal with the uncertainty and the making sure that everything is taken care of, the practical things?
Right. Are you talking about financially or just like administratively?
Financially,
Oh,
deadlines, dealing with your customers and working on your stuff. How do you deal with all
well, a few years ago, well, no, I would say about a year ago,
that? Hmm.
after I got married, my husband has a really great steady job. So, I have some passive income that comes in that really helps too. So
Nice.
I decided, hey, I'm not getting any younger and I want to make time for him and, different things that we have going as a couple. I
Hmm.
decided I used to do the social media and the website maintenance for my family's wedding venue. And I'll say the name because it ties into my book, but it's Sunshine Barn Wedding and Event Center. And I used to do all the social media and I really enjoyed it. It also brought me into, more interaction with my family.
Hmm.
But I realized that I couldn't do my social media for my books, because I was working on them even though I hadn't launched them, and learn craft and everything else as effective. And I decided with my goals was to support myself with my books
Hmm.
and not have other things because I am a kind of person that really needs to be single-minded or else I am like this. I'm not really good. Some people can do like 5 projects at one time. I don't. I get really scattered and it was really stressful for me because I wanted so much more time with my writing. So I just gave that up. I did edit my dad's book and we're having a book signing together. So I'm really excited about that.
Yay.
Yeah, and that was really fun, but again, it was very difficult to juggle 3 books, editing
Mhm.
his and then doing the anthology and then my Christmas book with deadlines that just had to prioritize, and when it came close to his deadline and he needed to get his book available because he was making it available for their 60th wedding anniversary this past summer.
Mhm.
So thank God I worked a lot of hours and we got it available. They had it shipped to his house like a week before. So I was very thankful. I was just praying and asking the Lord, please let this, because you don't know how long shipping takes, printing, all of that. So
Mhm.
yeah, so now I really don't take any editing clients now.
Mhm.
So, and I'm just focusing on my writing and kind of putting everything into that. And it takes a lot of time, as you know, because you've written books, to even market a book. I mean, there's so much time just to write, and I'm writing a book series, so I have to have time to continue writing. But then
Mhm.
marketing those books are very important, and it just takes time to learn it and then put time just to, promote it. So promoting two in a week has been a little bit
For
crazy.
real. So what I'm hearing is you actually had to make some shifts
Oh yeah,
in what you were doing because you are so capable. You were, doing a website, you were doing editing work, and I mean, you've done editing work for me, and you're so able to do so much. We've done workshops together,
yeah,
but you had to say, no, we're gonna narrow this down so I can focus. I have found a need myself for that because I can do a lot and I get excited. I'm like, yes, I'll do that. One more thing, But it is stressful. And sometimes when you say yes to too much, you're saying no to something else.
exactly.
You're saying, no, I'm not going to get as good a quality out of something as I would have. Or, no, I'm going to have to miss another opportunity because I've committed to this one. And so it's wise to narrow that down. You mentioned something that
Oh,
I failed to mention. You have had a huge life shift just in the last few years because you went from being single, yes, to having a 2020 marriage, which, wow, sir, that was a very interesting year for a lot of
oh
people,
my
but for
God.
you, goodness sake. So, can you tell us just a little bit about how going from being single for, well into adulthood? I mean, you really had your thing going. And now all of a sudden you're making room for this other person and you're making, an entwined life. How have you dealt with that and stayed sane, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, especially because I got married, never been married before. I got married in my mid 40s. So I was concerned that I would be really set in my ways. And there are some things, but overall, it was like it's a God thing because the transition was seamless. And I know that sounds crazy, but I think also what helped is we were friends first for a year and then we started dating and we just took it slow and we really integrated our lives and we talked a lot of things through. We even had premarital counseling.
Mm.
So we worked on some, inner issues within us, but we also really talked things through about how we make this work, how do we join our lives. And then when we got married, we got married in July, but we had a COVID wedding in March because we didn't know at the time what exactly would happen if they would even like have curfew and not let you visit, because it was just very uncertain and it was something so different that, even the government didn't know exactly what they're going to do. So
Right.
um, we got married the day of shelter in place was that. So we got married at 4 and shelter in place was at midnight. And the crazy part is we didn't make that decision to get married till like officially 24 hours before we got married. So it was one of I mean, I'm a very scheduled, very planned, not spontaneous person. So it's one of those things that it was crazy and we shocked everybody. Like, we're getting married tomorrow. They're like, what? Because our wedding, like I said, we were planning a wedding in July, but
Oof.
we got married at our counselor's backyard and it was amazing. I mean, we had each of us had two people standing up for us. We had Roger Nix marry us, and my family in Michigan couldn't come, but we had FaceTime with them. And what was so cool is we had talked, when we were engaged, that we wanted to kind of slow down for a year and really invest in our marriage. We didn't really have to like say, oh, we can't do that. The world stopped. And it was such a great base for our relationship because we were together 24/7. And that day when shelter in place was called is when his works, like, you can work from home.
Mhm.
So we started our marriage working from home. I already worked from home, but he started working from home, and that's what we're used to.
Yeah.
And we're both introverts, so we both give each other space, and then we'll see each other during the day, but we may not see each other for 4 hours because we're working. So we found a good rhythm that works for us. And he is very laid back and I'm very not. I tend to be I'm working it out, but I tend to be a perfectionist. I tend to be very planned, very scheduled. So he helps me to kind of loosen up. And with the whole book launch and publishing, it's stressful to just to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I self-published. I talked to some prolific authors, and I just felt like in my heart that's the road to go.
Mhm.
And that was a huge learning curve. So, it was literally a lot of tears trying to figure things out when I'd hit obstacles, and I didn't know if the book would be available to go up to Michigan because I'm having a book launch there. But he was there just giving me lots of words of encouragement, putting things in perspective. And he keeps saying, Sarah, I know it's stressful, but you need to celebrate. It's taken you 20 years, and that's another story, to publish your fiction, but you need to take time and celebrate. And
Yeah.
he prayed over me. So all that, the reason I'm saying that is, like, it's been more of a benefit than a challenge. Of course, for marriage is challenging, but honestly, I it's so weird to say this, but I don't know if I could have really published well if I were single, just because of the things that I needed. I
Mhm.
tend to be hard on myself, and I tend to like loop about issues and problems. And he was such a good sounding board. He was an encouragement, and he kept praying for me and listening to my issues, and just helping me sort through my thoughts.
Yes.
That he's just a gift. And what's amazing is today at church, when we were praying about stuff, we had time to pray about, seek our hearts and stuff. And the Lord's like, Sarah, I really want you to invest more into your marriage, because marriage is so powerful. A couple that has a strong, godly marriage can do so much together. And we do work in our marriage, but I can work even more, what's the right
Always something to
word?
learn. Yeah.
Yeah, and just really prioritize it even more. Like, I feel like I do, but I think there's certain areas where I can be even more present with him
Mhm.
and make sure that we're communicating. And we still go to counseling every week, even though really we have a great marriage, but it's like wonderful to still work on issues. And so I hope that answered your question.
I think it's beautiful. And I have to say, there are some people who, had they done what you did, I would have been like, oh, I can't even bear to look. But for
Yeah.
you, I just think it's the most romantic thing in the whole wide universe because you had already laid the ground. This was not, it was a quick decision to move forward on something you had built a foundation
Yes.
for a while because you did start as friends. You
Oh, yeah.
started not only as friends, but you were both in the singles group as leaders, as with your focus on God and with a self-awareness that is rare. When I got married, at 18, and I thought I had all the answers,
Oh,
but I
wow.
didn't even know what myself.
Yeah.
And you had enough years of being alone and doing your own thing to understand how you work best and how to be clear about your needs. And he
Yeah.
had enough years under him to understand a little bit of emotional intelligence and self-awareness too. And so when you guys did this, I just think, I mean, because I remember feeling like the
Yeah.
whole world is changing right now forever, and so to see you guys celebrate life during that time was just, it was just so gorgeous. I love it. And so you still, I mean, you started out, all of a sudden you're sharing your space with this other person, but and 24/7, right? Oh my goodness, I can't even imagine. But you had already, gotten to know each other well enough that you could communicate clearly about
Oh, yeah.
what you need about your work styles. And then you had gone to counseling, but you're still, it's 3 years later, and you still see a counselor together. My husband went to, a couple of counseling sessions and he's like, nah, I'm good. So you guys are actually still actively talking to a counselor. How does that help your, I mean, do you do it together or is this like individually, or how does this work? If I'm a married couple and I'm like, I want what they have, in my own version, right? Nobody's going to be just like you, but what would that look like? Um, yeah.
Yeah, we do see our counselor as a couple, and it depends. Every week is different, actually. Like last week, I met with her alone because Robert had to work. And the week before, I had a dentist appointment, so he went alone. So
Mhm.
it just depends. So if we do it together, we may talk about something that we were struggling with, or talk about something we did good with, or we may go through one of Terry Ewan's books.
Yeah.
So it just depends, we might do some kind of splunkna or inner healing exercise. So a communication where it just depends on every week what we need. And it's not always like, oh, there's a crisis. Most of the time, it's not. It's just talking through issues and learning tools that we can apply, not just for our marriage, but our jobs or our families or other relationships or church. So it's just equipping us with tools and learning things that will help us every day, whether it's our marriage or other issues.
It sometimes helps to have a third party hear you as you talk about, your plans, your dreams, your current situations, because sometimes we don't quite catch something we need to notice. As I'm listening to my spouse talk, um, I have assumptions. We've been together 25 years, right? I
Oh,
have
yeah.
assumptions that I know about him, whatever. And a third party might go, so let me ask about this, right? As my husband listens to me talk about something, he might think, oh, well, I already get that, and that third party might go, have you tried this? And
Mm,
having that outside person sometimes can alert us to things we might never have noticed before.
yeah.
And even bring up things. I mean, we've been married 25 years and we went to counseling this year for a little bit, and the counselor gave us this book, The Seven Principles of a Successful Marriage, I think. Oh my
Oh,
goodness, mind blower. And so just a few of the things in this book that were like, how did I never know this? How did I go this long and not recognize, that this was happening in my husband's head when I would talk
Mhm.
this way, or not try this technique, which works so much better than the way I had been doing it. I mean,
Yeah.
golly, there's never a time when we can't learn something, and our marriage is valuable. It is very valuable. God gives us people that meet a need we don't even realize we have sometimes.
Absolutely.
It's funny, I was at a meeting earlier today, and the girl who was speaking said, and I'm going to have her on here soon, but she said, it's up to God, the parts that he connects. He connects his body, right? We don't pick up a toe and stick it on our ear. We let God bring those connections together, and he's
Hmm.
really good at that. So I love that you guys have found that.
Me too.
He is, over the last, was it just a year ago that you all started pastoring, or has it been two?
Two. It's been over 2 years. 2021.
So he is pastoring at a church in Tulsa. And how has that affected you? How has that changed your dynamic?
Not too much because he's just not just, he is an associate pastor. They actually have a senior pastor and he's one of the other two associate pastors. And it's a very, very small church. It's uh All Nations Vineyard. So it's, to me, we say it's more like a home group because there's probably like 35 people, if that.
Yeah.
So it's very small. So that helps. There's not like, they only have one service a week. We are part of a outreach called Friends to Foreigners
Hmm.
with another couple. But as far as like altering our lives, I think it's more altered him as the
Yeah.
associate pastor because I'm not really like a, what
You're
you
not the
think of.
pastor's wife who has to
Right.
hostess all the time and things like that. Oh, good.
No,
Okay. You don't
not
have to
at
lead the
all.
ladies in singing. Okay.
I don't sing, so I don't think they want me to lead them. No.
I got you. So that's cool. So you've been able to make a little bit of transition, and you already were, helping to lead a home group, and so you're a little familiar with that
Yeah.
dynamic. But you did have to change churches, or you chose to change
Yeah.
churches.
Yeah, so that was the biggest transition because we were both, when we met and started dating, I was going to Believers
Hmm.
and he was going to All Nations, and we were like trying to find out where does God want us to go, and we'd alternate, and we had so many different like ways we would change and go here, go there, go to one service. And then all of a sudden, we gave the decision to God. I was like, Lord, just help me to be indifferent to whatever church you want to go to. Because, of course, I was going to Believers. It was such a great lifeline for me at the time when I found it. And I, like you, I mean, I already knew you before, but you started coming, and I had so many great relationships. I led a small group out of Believers. So when he got asked to be the associate pastor, it was like, okay. So we talked about it, and he was like, Sarah, if you're not going to have, if God's not going to be able to uphold your calling and you can't pursue your calling if I take this job, I don't want to take it.
Wow,
I
that took
know.
some guts.
Because he wants, he has a pastoral call, even though he
Very
works
much.
a secular job,
Mhm.
but he still has that pastoral heart. And so we just prayed about it and then we felt peace. And so it's, the transition's been good.
And they absolutely adore you, which is really nice. They better treat my friend right. So it's funny because you talked earlier about being an introvert, that
Yes.
you're one of the most social introverts I've ever met. I have
Oh,
learned that introverts are not necessarily antisocial, right? You just
no.
need a lot of personal space to do your
Lots.
thing. And so you spent a lot of personal space, doing your writing, but you've chosen to be part of a community.
Yes.
And the change in your writing and the speed with which you ramped up and ended up releasing both of these books is just mind blowing to me. So, Tell me about this writing group that you've been part of and how
Yeah,
it's evolving.
you
Yeah.
said earlier how God brings people together. This was a total God thing. We got connected through a platform course, and one of the ladies said, "Do you guys want to form a group?" And I was like, "Yes." And we've changed a few members, but now we have the founder did die this summer, but
Mm,
she was able to have her short story in the anthology published, and that was her first work. So that's amazing.
yeah.
But we came together and we have official meetings bi-monthly, and then twice a week we do writing sessions where we just get on Zoom, and then we say we're going to work on, and then take off, turn off the microphone, the video, and we work at our desks, and then we check back in at every hour, and we do that for 3 hours. So it's a great way to hold each other accountable to work on writing or writing related projects. And then you're kind of not you're writing on your own, but yet you're still have some connection there. And when we have our bi-monthly meeting, if someone's like, "Look, I need to brainstorm this idea, or I need you guys to help me with this chapter. I'm going to send it to you ahead of time. Let's break it down," or "I need some marketing." And what was so cool is through all of this, we decided to do a Christmas anthology, and all of us have different strengths. So like
Mhm.
two of us did the editing, one person did the book cover, another person did the book interiors, someone wrote the dedication, someone else wrote like the about the lady lit. So it's just cool to see the collaboration, and their critiques are so great. So we can sign up once a week to get critiques. I've also gone back and forth with some of them to critique each other's book, and we
Mhm.
give each other chapters, and they all have such different point of views that it's wonderful to get their feedback. And actually this summer, I mean this in September, I visited the first one in person in France, and it was
Fun.
so surreal because you see her on the video, and then to see her right in your face, I squealed when I saw her because I was like, "Oh
I
my god." But yes, you're right, it has elevated my writing, and so not in the craft of
bet.
writing, but also like in marketing, we feature each other and we help each other with market and publishing, because majority of them, there's one who is published traditionally, and the other ones are pursuing self-publishing. So I was like, meeting with one person by herself and like asking her tons of questions. So they're also a great resource. So, and it's so nice because we have these regular meeting times, so we can just pick each other's brains during those times. Sometimes it's hard to say, "Oh, let's hook up and meet and get our calendar." I already have, we're already meeting regularly, and we have it scheduled twice a week. So I know, hey, just a quick question, or what I'm saying, or I
Mhm.
can send them an email. And it's just having that open door policy as a writer is huge.
Yes. Well, I was just talking to someone yesterday about the how the dynamic changes just when you have someone else present and you're doing something. My friend was talking about how, she has all this time now that, she's living alone and she has her sewing room set up. She loves to sew. And she's like, but I don't. I don't do it. And it's, when other people are there and they're doing their own thing, like when I go and I work, in the other
Yeah,
room on my stuff, she goes in her sewing room and just sews. There's an energy
there
difference
is.
when you have that other person. And it's so
Hmm.
funny to imagine just, being on a Zoom where you're not talking to each other and you're just checking in with one another, but it makes a big difference.
It does. It really
And
does.
I think it really has a lot to do with how rapidly you, you went from idea to publication, and marketing is really time consuming and daunting,
Yes.
but because you have these other people who are just encouraging you and giving you
Oh, yeah.
accountability, it's been really neat to see.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool because you're a third party, so you can see it. When I'm right in it, I don't
Mhm.
see it the same way. But since you were like, yeah, I did it pretty rapidly. Yes, for me, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Well, because as a perfectionist, and I think just as an artist in general, we never know when to quit. Right? It's
Yes.
never ever just perfect. We want to just keep poking at it. And then we go through, I don't know if you go through this, but I go through this. Nobody's going to care anyway
Of
moments,
course. Of
right when you're
course.
almost done.
Yes. Yes.
And it's beautiful to have people who have cared all along because you've actually
Yes.
done critiques of little chapters, of little scenes, and so you have this reinforcement that this isn't just
Yes.
about you.
Yes,
Great.
absolutely. So you're right. They are a big catalyst to me getting published because I've been working on a different book series for 20 years
Yeah,
and I just never got it published. And then this one, I think just knowing that, not only their involvement, but their encouragement, and then knowing that they've been published and they've published their stuff, it's like, you know what? They can do it. I can do it. Let's just get it done. And yeah.
neat. Now you have, especially in Christmas at the Sunshine Barn, I just love your dialogue. Your dialogue
Oh,
makes me
thank
want to hang out with these characters for the rest of the night. I just want to pull up a chair and. And I'm wondering, the places that you describe, I am just immersed in. And in Christmas at the Sunshine Barn, the Christmas fair is just, I don't know, it's just such a neat place. And the candy shop, oh my gosh, I mean, seriously. And so you describe these places that are just alive, and these people have these conversations that are just, they're funny, they're teasing each other, they're getting deep, and I just want to be there. So I- I know the places, a lot of
yeah.
times you actually draw from reality.
Hmm.
Tell the truth. Are there people in your life who are in your books?
No, they are from my imagination,
They are
but
from your imagination.
they
Okay.
are from my imagination, but, subconsciously,
Mhm.
you don't even try, you just have a bank here that you can withdraw from, and it just shows up on the page. And I don't really always think of people per se. That doesn't really, it's actually kind of an obstacle if I think, oh, because I've tried. I'm like, this
Mhm.
person's going to be like, and it's an obstacle. So what I think more is like personality traits. And I think of the protagonist and like how that person is going to help or subvert the protagonist.
Mm.
So, and then the personalities for me, like for instance, my main character, Garrett, my husband says, oh, that's me. I don't think he's completely my husband, but that's what my husband thinks. But he's laid back. He is very creative. He loves nature and wildlife. And then his mom is controlling out of fear. She loves interior design. She's very stylish. She wears bright colors, even in the winter. She's very extroverted, type A personality. So having like knowing that they need to clash,
Mhm.
it's easy to give her traits that I know would be clashing with him or would be a struggle. So, I mean, they're definitely not stereotypes at all.
I
But
love that you didn't make her a stereotype. That
no,
she definitely has some things she needs to work on.
yes.
But she's human. She's very human, and the way she is, you kind of see why she's that way,
Yeah.
and and so you can see that it's possible for her to change, for her to get better, and that's
Yeah.
beautiful. I really enjoyed that dynamic,
Oh, good. Yeah,
and
because
her husband
actually,
too. Yeah.
yeah, because actually, it is a love story, but it's more about him and his mother's relationship. I haven't really said that to anybody but my husband. But if you read it, especially if you reread it and you don't see it at first, it's more of how he overcomes his relationship with her and dealing with her fear because he was an alcoholic. So
Mhm.
she has that in the back of her mind. So how does he, after been 10 years sober, overcome when, there's things in his life that could cause,
Yeah.
some of that to come back. So I don't want to ruin it, but
No, no spoilers. But yeah, I did like, and as a romantic,
yeah.
I even look at the parents and go, I can see how, her husband is trying to be understanding, and I can see how she has some growth to do, and I can see them getting, hopefully, moving forward and growing even at their age,
Yeah.
even after having so many years of being the way they are. So that was I it's so neat when you get invested in characters and it doesn't feel done. You feel like, there's resolution, but there's still more growth to come. So I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to the rest of the series for sure.
Okay.
So if I am a person who loves Christmas romances or just fun, and I want to say we call this a Christmas romance. This is not I don't even know if it's Christmas romance. Is it a romance? But
I
it's
mean, he's in a romance, he's
romantic.
engaged in the
Yeah.
beginning of the book, and it is a romance, but that's not really the primary. It's more like
Yeah,
a
it's not
drama.
icky like you're dealing with people being stupid and you're just like, "Ah, get over yourself." I don't know. So it's a very enjoyable Christmas story. A
Yeah.
story about a person's life that happens at Christmas time, and so you get to enjoy all the fun that comes along with the season and all the neat, like hanging out with cool people and watching this character develop. So where would I get this lovely book?
Yeah, so if you want to order the ebook, I actually have it. It's on Amazon. So Amazon Christmas Sunshine Bar and Sarah soon. It's
Mhm.
4.99, but I have it on my Shopify store for 3.99.
Ooh,
So I have a code, I think. Yeah, so for your subscribers or your viewers, I
mhm.
can, give them the code.
Yeah, if you
And
wanna put it in the chat, but go ahead
yeah,
and say it too, just in case.
yeah, it's hold on. Like I said, all of this is so new, but if you go to sarahsoonbooks.com,
SarahSoonBooks.com, and it's
books.com
Sarah with an H at the end. Say
with an H. Yeah.
Sarah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
have the Good Tidings anthology, but that's more for I would ask people to go either on Barnes and Nobles or Apple or Amazon to buy that there. That's
Mhm.
something special. I won't go into it, but
We'll talk
because
about that next. We'll talk about that
yeah,
in just a
yeah.
moment. Yeah.
So that you can get the ebook there or you can get the physical book. It's on Amazon now, and I will have it on my Shopify store hopefully by the ended mid-December. It's a long process. That's what I've learned. I'm
Oh,
still
gotcha.
waiting on the graphic designer to do the book cover because Lulu, I'm doing it through Lulu,
Mhm.
and Lulu has their own book cover dimensions that are different from Amazon or Ingram Spark. So
Okay, that's fine.
yeah,
So we're
so
talking about Christmas at Sunshine Barn, Sonshine Barn. You can get that at Sarah Soon Books, SarahSoonBooks.com. You can also get that on Amazon, but at Sarah Soon
mhm.
Books, you'll get $1 off at the moment, not
It-
forever. And
mm.
then, okay, so Sarah, tell me about the other the anthology.
Yeah, so it's called Good Tidings, and of course, it's written by us Lady Litz,
Mhm,
and it's 7 stories. 6 of them are fiction. Mine's fiction, and the 7th one is actually a true story that happened on Christmas Day, and it's pretty. It's happens in Paris, so you get the Parisian flavor.
ooh,
And we have at the very back, we have our family favorite Christmas recipes. So you get stories and recipes to make your holiday festive.
fun. And okay, where are we gonna get that one? Now, if I understand correctly, you're doing something special with the proceeds for that book, aren't you?
Yes, so all of our proceeds go to our individual charities.
Hmm.
Mine goes to ICO. It's actually started out of Tulsa, and the couple go to Believers.
Yeah.
Jerry and I think Jerry and Ann Lout were the founders. Anyways, if it's not, sorry, Jerry and Ann, but I think you are.
So it's ICO, which stands for.
Tulsa International Community Outreach, and they reach international students at the different universities in Tulsa and in Prague.
Okay.
And they also minister to refugees. I know Tulsa especially has quite a few refugees.
Hmm.
So the money, I will donate my share. We're all splitting the shares
Hmm.
to ICO,
ICO.
and I put it on my store if like donors want to donate from ICO, want to donate directly and get all the proceeds to go towards ICO. But I also want, the regular people that aren't donors with ICO, they can just go on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Apple, Kobo, and just put Good Tidings, a Christmas anthology by Lady Litz, and you can buy the book from there.
So Good Tidings, a Christmas anthology by
Yes.
Lady Litz,
Yes.
and the proceeds will go to ICO. And I know that there is a myth that authors make millions of dollars on their books. That is not the case. So get this book because it is a
Yeah.
really good read. I've met the authors, but don't just use the book for your donations. Go ahead and go to ICO and contribute because I, I think it's wonderful that we're reaching out to the international students here and definitely to the refugees who, in the world we live in, you know, um, they need a place. They need a place that welcomes them.
Yes. And just so you know, like I'm giving my proceeds to ICO, the other ladies are giving the proceeds to their own individual
Of
charities.
course.
So, but that's why I want, I would hope people would just, go and if they give and buy it on Amazon, it'll go to 7 different charities.
Fantastic. Well, Sarah, it has been such a blessing to have you around, and I'm really grateful that your fairy tale romance that
I
you and
know.
your husband have is actually a very real life, growing, beautiful thing
Yes.
that is an inspiration to all. And I'm really excited about your book. I thoroughly enjoy reading your your stuff. So keep it coming.
Thank you, Christy. You're one of my biggest cheerleaders. Trust me.
Well, thank you. And God bless you all. We will see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.